Are you one of the 75% of contractors whose financial statements are inaccurate? Find out. Click on the link in the show notes and you'll get a free P&L and balance sheet check.
This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Get the business tool that makes your financial statements come alive and helps you grow profitably, build wealth, and significantly impact your life and the lives of your employees. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you. This is the second of 3 episodes that demystifies your CSR, dispatch, and inside sales roles. My guests are Lynn Wise, CEO of Contractor and Charge, and Danielle Bartus, who leads sales and marketing for Contractor and Charge. In the last episode, we discussed the division of the CSR role for contractors. Today, we'll discuss the role of a dispatcher. Lynn and Danielle, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. So we got into some really cool things last time talking about AI and everything related to the CSR role. So that was part 1. And unfortunately, a lot of contractors look at it and say, okay, you can answer the phone, you can do dispatch. What do you all think about that? Lynn, what do you think?
You're serving 2 masters.
Yep, agreed. So go ahead. What do you think the dispatch role really needs to be in your mind?
Yeah, so the dispatch role is really about, it's the money center.
Okay.
So it's what manages the profitability of the book jobs. So those are the leads that you've got and that you successfully booked, which in most service companies we're familiar with, it's 80% plus. Certainly there are some that are not as high, and I would argue it's partly because they're serving 2 masters. So if you want your booking rate higher, you need to have your dispatch function separate. If you want a more profitable job board, you need to have your dispatch board separate. So it takes focus, it takes time, and a lot of concentration on managing the jobs for profitability, for routing, for the right skill set, for the right customer request. So many of the service companies that we service today, they don't want to quote arrival windows. And by the way, neither would I. However, you have plenty of customers who say, I'd love to have the morning, but I'm not going to be there till after 10. Well, guess what? That's an exception. It doesn't fit into the wheelhouse of I'm going to stack it and put it there as a choice for the morning. No, it's after 10. So somebody has to manage that type of exception. Things happen. Tires go flat. Service techs get in wrecks. They go to the supply house and can't get a part. There's all kinds of exceptions that fly into that space on an ongoing basis. And granted, some days are worse than others, but you're dealing with actually the end product that we actually sell is that technician that drives to that house and delivers that service or that install. That is the product. So your product design has to do with the back end support of that product, and that product or that technician. Not that I'm suggesting you need to special handle a technician, because I don't believe in that, but you do need to have a structure that makes them efficient in their billing hour and in their productivity, period. And that is your dispatcher.
Yeah. So that means the dispatcher has to understand, dispatcher has to be really good at matching personality of customer with personality of tech and skill level of tech, right, Danielle?
Yes, and that honestly, skill level of tech is probably one of the most important things. When you are dispatching, we talked a little bit about personalities in the last episode as well with the CSR versus the booking agent.
Mm-hmm.
Your dispatcher has a much more logistical thinking personality. So they're typically a lot more about how to make things work, and they can look at big pictures and, organize things and stack them and move things. It's honestly, it's an art form. It's like scheduling anything, right? It takes some practice, and it takes a whole lot of being able to see a big picture. And so when you're looking at a customer's job, you need the right technician to go, and they have to be able to do the work at a base level, but also, does the routing make sense? Does the distance make sense? Is this job going to make enough money, or should I move it and put something else in that place? And that's kind of to Lynn's point, why you can't have your CSR and your dispatcher be the same person, because you can't think of all of those things while you're actively taking a phone call and it be
No,
successful.
and that doesn't work.
Well,
Right,
they're
not
the
usually.
no,
Yeah.
they're the engineer. I always call them the air traffic controller, right?
Yep.
So they're the air traffic controller of the business.
Yeah, and the reality of it is they're the ones who, at least in my opinion, have to look at the board, not only today's board, but tomorrow's board and the next day's board and the next day's board. And if there's not enough calls on that board, you have to talk to the booking agent or an inside salesperson, which we'll get to in the next episode. But I look at a dispatcher as responsible for not only making sure the customer gets service, at the right time and everything like that, but also keeping a roof over the heads of the tech and food in their mouths and their families, because that's also their responsibility. What do you think?
No, absolutely. They manage the capacity that you have, and that capacity is what drives the money in the bank.
Yep.
So they got to keep the boards full. They also have to be the weatherman
Oh,
or the
please.
weather person. So they've got to be aware of the climate conditions in their area. And is it going to be mild for the next 2 weeks, or is it going to be mild and then are we going to have a heat spike? So, or a cold break, if you will. They have to be really conscientious of weather, capacity, productivity, billing goal, profitability goals, all of that. They are the air traffic controller of the business.
The reason I laughed is it's been raining in Atlanta for a week, and you know
Oh,
what that does, don't you?
yeah, sump pumps, right? That's the other thing. Do I have enough sump pumps? Hey, we're going to need sump pumps, right? They're usually driving that kind of inquiry too back into the business. We've got, a hurricane that's just hit the southeast, and Atlanta's going to get dumped on for the next 5 days. We know that's sump pump weather, right? Or flooding conditions, whether it's backups or whatever. So it's all there, and you actually, for doing it for many years myself personally, the weather was what you had was one of the main drivers as being a dispatcher.
Yeah. And for those of you who are in hurricane land, as you mentioned, and those of you who sell generators, part of your maintenance plan, one of the options would be to get your generator checked 2 or 3 days before a hurricane is supposed to hit. And that's really a good part of a maintenance plan. And yes, they do pay extra for this. It's not, something that you just run out and get out of the goodness of your heart. So anyway, all right. So before we take a break, give us the email addresses, your website, and your phone number, please.
So contractorancharge.com, 813-303-1060. Lynn, Lynn at contractorancharge.com, or Danielle Bartus, which is DBARTUS at contractorancharge.com.
Thank you very much. We will be right back.
Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, "I can't," are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month, at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. We are talking about the dispatch role with Lynn Wise and Danielle Bartus, who are CEO and sales and marketing leader for Contractor in Charge. Before the break, we gave, the role and the title of the dispatcher, the air traffic controller of your company, and the one who really and truly generates the revenue from a service side of the company. I want to bring up something that has become really interesting and it's fascinating and seeing where it's going. And we touched on it a little bit in the last episode with AI, answering phones and bots and things like that. But let's talk about AI dispatching. Lynn, you want to take it?
Sure, I'll start it.
Okay.
So AI dispatching, I want you to think about it's a dispatch AI bot is what I really want to build on. It's not building rules and just running the rules. It's actually letting AI run the scheduling, the routing, the optimization of your jobs. And why this is really important, number one, it has rules and it does have a back-end large language model that is easily designed. It might not sound easily to somebody else if they try to set down, but there's lots of data been collected on this and it's been proven. We're a reseller of a product called Buck.ai that can be embedded into your system, and it integrates with the major field service management software, but it's pretty amazing. It can dispatch 50 calls in 15 minutes or 15 seconds.
Ooh.
So yes. So it does what's called batch dispatching. And then the other part of it that it manages is once you've got the batch dispatch set up, now you can optimize the board every 10 minutes through your AI, making sure that things are still the same, making sure that the times are in line with job times, etc., so that it's managing it. Why this is so important is because it gives your dispatcher back time to work on the money side of it. So it's an exchange of skills. This is truly one of those areas where let's just maybe talk about, you might need 2 or 3 dispatchers. You might only need one dispatcher that manages the call by call, the money side of the business, the management of the weather conditions, the management of customer expectations, answering and making sure that or making outbound calls and making sure that texts are is being communicated, if the texts are going to arrive, and things like that. So things that are more customer focused still lie in that dispatch role because they've got the control center, but the AI agent is actually what's optimizing the board.
Got it. So does the AI agent actually get the information to the technician?
Well, on your dispatch queue. So usually through the field service management software.
Okay.
When it's dispatched, that's normal procedure. So it'd be no different than you moving it or a bot moving it.
Yeah. And okay, Danielle, I have an interesting question for you. Let's assume that AI, went and scheduled and sent the next call to the service technician. Service technician looks at this and goes, "I'm not going." What happens? And
Well,
we've all had those situations.
yes, we have. So let's say that the technician decides they're not going. At that point, honestly, that's kind of where that the human dispatcher comes back in, right? So the technician would have to communicate with the dispatcher and say, "Hey, this call was placed and I don't want to go," or let's hope that there's a good reason, right? Maybe he's not close to it or he can't do that skill. Then you bring in the human dispatcher again and you have the human dispatcher reshuffle and move things around. Again, let's hope it's for a good reason though. Yes.
Well, a lot of times it's like, I don't like that place, or I don't like that customer, or it's smelly in there, or it's not fun to be there. I mean, that's generally what it is that they talk about.
Well, but that's where the human side of it comes in, right? So this is probably a really good example of where AI is a great tool, but the human in the loop is absolutely the icing on the cake. So the human dispatcher, the dispatcher that is knows personalities, knows customers, knows the environment and the ecosystem that they're working in, then they're going to have to do the appropriate negotiation with the technician as well as with the customer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would go ahead, Danielle.
No, I was going to say one of the nice things about AI dispatching though to give it back its good gracious credit, is that it takes away some of that human thought process. So like Lynn has mentioned that we resell Buck AI. One of the things that was so cool about it when we first seen it was that it gives you the ability to say, give me the best technician for this job based on what they've sold, not because I think they're great or because they tell me they can do it, right? Or they always seem to run this call and get it done quickly. But there are some components of it that humans, especially in real time, can't necessarily think, that AI did bring you back and make your human dispatcher more of the liaison between the technicians and the customers, and allow some of the thought process should go into dispatching to be handled by a machine, for lack of a better term, that can take away some of the bias of being a human.
The favoritism.
Yeah, favoritism is really what it is. And the other thing is that I think AI would be able to catch a technician whose every repair was a thermostat, or every repair was replace a contactor, or every repair was, replace a board, and be able to flag that. Yes?
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
well, part of the design of the rule is you base priorities based on those types of attributes.
Absolutely. All right.
So
What
yes.
one final question? In a lot of cases, I look at a dispatcher who, this is the person who only, well, with an AI help agent, is the only one who touches the board. Nobody else, like the people who set up the calls and the people who answer the phone, cannot basically change the board. Is that your thought and philosophy too, or not?
Absolutely. You
100%.
cannot have 99 hands on that board. In fact, one of the things, because of the business that we're in, right? We'll run into a lot of companies. Let's say they have 2 or 3 folks that answer the phone and book jobs on the board. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
I know how there is always a way, and I would find a way if that was it. But I know the reason that they're doing it the way that they're doing it. 1 is cost, and 2 is I think they haven't really thought through what's the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
I think there is something that could be said of allow your CSR to book it on a tech, but make sure there's someone that's overseeing that entire process. So if you don't have the business model or even the volume to support 2 full-time people, absolutely your CSR can book it on somebody, but there still needs to be a check and balance in place to make sure that it's being put on the right person based on your individual business and the type of job that it is.
absolutely. All right. So when we get together next time, we're going to talk about the inside sales role, which, can be a combination of, I think, a little bit of the CSR, but also there, in my opinion, and I think in yours, because we've talked about this, is somebody who's totally functioning on follow-up and things along those lines. So, Lynn, give us the website and phone number one last time, please. Where'd you go?
Contractor 1060.
Say that. Okay, say that again. Because I lost you.
Contractorincharge.com.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, contractorincharge.com. 813-303-1060.
Very good. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money, too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email ruthking@hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.